All right, guys, let's get right into this list. I mean, number one on the list, I don't think there's any questions. And if you do have questions about the number one on the list, I don't think you watch enough football. I mean, as much as I hate the dude playing him twice a year, it's a damn shame. But I mean, it is what it is. Patrick Mahomes number one. I mean, it's undisputable. I mean, it's two-time Super Bowl MVP, two and zero on the year. All right, two-time MVP. I mean, he's won two Super Bowls. I mean, just this guy is being called the next, Tom Brady. There is, I don't think he's ever going to be able to become Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady's in a tier of his own that his records and his career success will never ever be touched. He is one of one, and I don't think Mahomes is is going to reach those type of accolades. Sure, he's a great passer. Sure, he's very talented, but I think Tom Brady's undisputed going to be the greatest quarterback ever. But like I said, no need to say, and people are going to say that he's struggling right now and his team is struggling right now. But listen, at the bottom line, out of respect for this dude, he's won, like I said, two Super Bowls, two-time MVP. He's 2-0 with offensive struggles. I mean, it's just the perfect thing you would want to see from a quarterback like that. Week two, and the only struggles you're having as a team has to be with that offense. I mean, eventually it's going to click. You have Andy Reid, you have Travis Kelsey, who you didn't have for week one, but now he's back. I mean, this team's going to be just fine. This team is going to be, I mean, it's going to be fine. Untouched, Patrick Mahomes, number one on the list. Number two, and this is truly out of respect for Joe Burrow. I think out of these three QBs in the A tier list, he's got to be number two. I mean, just he's the one person going head to head with Patrick Mahomes every year. I mean, he was one penalty away from possibly going back to another Super Bowl. I mean, and then 2 years ago, he went. Excuse me, when he was in the Super Bowl, he was a couple O linemen away, from actually winning that Super Bowl game. I mean, if he wasn't sacked, what, nine, 8 times, uh, he could possibly have a ring on his finger, and I think we all know that. And I know he's 0-2 right now. He's lost two division games, and his schedule doesn't get much easier. And he's coming off. He just tweaked his a calf again, so he might not even play this upcoming week. For his sake, like I said last video, I really hope he doesn't. I hope he gets healthy and takes care of his business. But with that being said, I mean, this man is the one person who goes toe to toe with Patrick Mahomes every year, and I think he, out of respect, deserves his number two spot. Number three in the number two in the A tier list, number three in the rankings. Just so you guys know, from left to right in each tier is how I ranked them. Okay, based on like I said, basically how he affects his team to win. My biggest thing is consistency and winners. And there's a couple people on this list that, as we go through it, you'll see they got some great numbers, but they're just not putting up any results. But like I said, Lamar Jackson, I mean, he struggled week one, didn't have Mark Andrews, loses J.K. Dobbins for the year. I mean, it was a tough game. See, he was sitting out most of the training camp, trying to get that contract and signed and going through all this stuff. And, he's got to get the rust off. Didn't play in the preseason. But yet again, he takes out Joe Burrow week one. Excuse me. He takes out the Texans in week one, beats Joe Burrow in week two when he looks 50 times better than he did in week one. All right. Now he's got Zay Flowers coming out here, really starting to turn into a potential rookie of the year candidate. All right. I mean, Mark Andrews coming back. You've seen him connect with him in the end zone. They could have had one more, but he couldn't come down with it. I think this is, just, I mean, this is it, man. And these top three spots, I believe, are just, unarguable. I mean, undebatable. I mean, this is just how it is. Jalen Hurts at number three in the A tier list. Again, Jalen Hurts is not someone who's playing well. Okay, but we just seen him go to the Super Bowl. We just seen him run through the NFC. We just seen him, give Dallas problems last year. All right, their offense has not been performing to their standards. All right, everyone has said it. Jalen Hurts has said it. AJ Brown's made it vocal. Jason Kelsey's made it vocal. Sirianni's made it vocal. I think this offense is going to be just fine. And out of respect for Jalen Hurts and what he's done, at the end of the day, they are still 2-0. Okay, 2-0 is 2-0. However gets it done. All right, there's not a lot of QBs on this list that could say they're 2-0 to start the year. All right. First person in the B tier list. All right, and I know what everyone's going to say. We've heard a lot of MVP conversations about Tua based on his 2-week performance already, and we heard it a little bit last season how he started the year. Okay, I mean, seventh in passer rating. Okay, seventh in passer rating, fifth in touchdowns. He's only got two INTs. One of the biggest, he's so close to getting into that A tier for me, but one of the biggest things for me is I need consistency. Last year, he started to have a great season, gets injured, right? Then he comes back and he struggles against couple good teams, a couple elite defenses, okay, that started giving him problems, all right? So for me, the biggest thing with Tua, yes, he is 2-0. Yes, he just had a crazy cup for week 1 against against the LA Chargers. But the one thing with Tua is I need consistency. I need to see if he's going to play the whole entire year, because if he's going to, miss half the season or 4 or 5 games of the season because of injury, I mean, it's just, I can't put him in that A tier. You can't get bumped up if you're not playing. Okay, with that being said, they're going to be tested this year. They're going to be playing some good teams, so I'm looking forward to see that. Trevor Lawrence, number 2 in the B tier. I mean, yes, he hasn't been, what he looked like last year. Week 1, he had a great first half against the Indianapolis Colts, slowed down, lost the lead for a minute, ended up regaining and winning that game. But like I said, at the end of the day, and he just lost to Patrick Mahomes. Yes, it was not a good day for Trevor Lawrence, but losing to that Kansas City defense, who has been playing phenomenal to start the year, with Chris Jones coming back, and losing to Travis Kelce and Andy Reid, and like I said, that elite team, the Super Bowl favorites. I mean, it's an okay loss. Yes, you would like to see him play better. Have we seen him play better against Kansas City before? Yes, but I do believe he will be just fine. He'll figure it all out. He's got Calvin Ridley. He's got another weapon on his offense. Okay, Travis Etienne is looking good. Calvin Ridley's looking good. Okay, they had a couple touchdown passes to Calvin Ridley that they couldn't get in. They were, millimeters away from scoring. So this game could have easily gone Jacksonville's way. Okay, but I think that's a good spot for Trevor Lawrence. And then Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen, yes, a lot of people thinks he should be in that A tier, but the biggest thing for me is the turnover situation. I mean, yes, he's got all the talent in the world to do this, but having the most turnovers in the league in the last 3 years is just not good, okay? Especially as a quarterback, especially when a lot of these top-tier Super Bowl contending teams have great defenses. It's not something you want to see. I mean, he just lost the game to Zach Wilson because he had 4 turnovers versus the Jets. I mean, and, it's just stuff like that. It's just unacceptable. I mean, losing to Zach Wilson is ridiculous, all right? And no matter how well you put it, whatever you want to say, all right? Him going against the Raiders and throwing for 350 yards, we're not supposed to be good. We're supposed to be terrible. Our defense is supposed to be one of the worst defenses in the league, all right? And that's what we looked like on Sunday. But so why am I supposed to be impressed with a defense that's not supposed to be bottom tier? Again, I've heard what everyone's saying about us, okay, because we definitely looked sorry last Sunday, all right? So there's no respect there gained for him torching us, especially when I feel like our DC didn't get enough pressure on Josh Allen that day. And then next on the list, Justin Herbert. I mean, listen, 8th in pass rating in the league, 7th in yards, okay? I mean, but he's putting up phenomenal numbers, but they're just not winning games. I mean, they're blowing leads. They're losing to people like Ryan Tannehill, okay, and Tennessee Titans. They lost to Tua Tagovailoa in that Miami offense. I mean, it was just they had a lead and they couldn't, finish the game, which is nothing new with the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, this guy's got all the ability to be great, to be one of the best in the league, but he just can't win games and the big games. I mean, he's 0-2 this year. You've seen him throw. Trevor Lawrence went for 4 INTs, and he still ended up losing that playoff game. And just in previous years, he's never had ice. The Los Angeles Chargers have never had ice to win these big games. And for me, you got to be a winner to be in that elite tier. I don't care how talented you are. Next on the list, Brock Purdy. I mean, I think it's safe to say this is going to be a debatable spot for Brock Purdy, especially because he's ahead of Dak Prescott. And again, I don't think Brock Purdy is the most talented QB on that whole tier, all right? But I think what he's doing for that offense is just perfect. I mean, he's perfect for Kyle Shanahan. 0 turnovers, 2-0 in the season. He's undefeated as a 3-0 as a starter, on the season. They just ended up beating the New York Giants, Okay, but he's undefeated as a starter, all right? He's first in QBR in the league, which is just something you want to see, okay? And he's just a perfect fit for Kyle Shanahan. He's one of the only QBs I think Kyle Shanahan has ever had that just plays through Kyle Shanahan. What Kyle Shanahan wants to see is what Brock Purdy goes out there and does. He doesn't try to do too much. He takes care of the ball. He makes the right reads. He checks it down and is okay with running the ball 30 times a game. I mean, he just does. He plays Mike Shanahan type football, and I think he's the one QB. Yes, because he's less talented than a lot of these other QBs, but he plays exactly how Kyle Shanahan wants him to play. He goes out there and, he just does the right things. He doesn't make mistakes, which is something you can't say the same about some of these guys with the elite arm talent, especially Dak Prescott, who's next on the list. All right, next on the list, Dak. No turnovers in the season. All right, Sauce Gardner should have had a pick six last week. Uh, Obviously, we don't got to speak about it. That Dallas defense looked dominant, but yet again, Dak Prescott has not looked dominant. All right, he's even looked like he's scared to take a couple shots and be aggressive throwing the football, which is okay. Which is why he's in this middle B tier, because I need to see a game from him, a couple games from him where he is the reason his team goes out there and win. Okay, especially losing Trayvon Diggs. Shout out to I'm praying for you, man. Trayvon Diggs, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, Dallas Cowboy fans, but it is what it is, all right? Now, Dak Prescott needs to step up even more. I mean, he's 8th in completion percentage, 2nd in QBR, but 22nd in passing yards. I mean, he was throwing a lot of underneath 3-yard, 2-yard completions in that Jets game. So that's why he got the spot that he is. Again, I'm a consistency dude, and you have to put Brock Purdy over the guy. He's beaten him already, okay? And I just think it's a perfect spot for Dak Prescott, and it's respectable. Jared Goff, 1 for 1. Yes, he just lost to Geno Smith, but I mean, one INT in the year. Before that, I believe he was like 300 something games without a INT, which is just him taking care of the football, which is something you love to see, especially with that talented Detroit Lion offense. I mean, it's great to see. 3rd in QBR. I mean, he just allows the Lions to compete. He's nothing special. He's nothing flashy. He just does his job, and he puts his team in winning opportunities to win. And that's the only thing you could ask for. Geno Smith, yes, he just beat Detroit and Jared Goff in overtime, but yet again, he's 1 of 1. So is Jared Goff, but Jared Goff has played good in his first 2 starts of the season. Geno Smith had that, the little stunt in LA playing the Rams week 1. So out of respect for Jared Goff and his consistency, I'm putting him a spot over Geno Smith. Okay, Geno Smith is 8 in QBR, 5th in completion percentage, and no INTs on the season. I mean, just great football. Hoping for big things for that Seattle team. And then Stafford, he's another guy, 3rd in yards, 1 and 1 without Cooper Kupp. All right, 7th in QBR. Again, him, Sean McVay, they're making that BYU receiver look like the next Cooper Kupp. I mean, not literally, okay? I don't think that's going to keep going for the entire season at that pace. But, okay, you like to see him getting new people involved. And I think when when Cooper Kupp gets back, this offense is going to start clicking. And then you'll start seeing Stafford make some jumps. I think he's playing well so far. The game against San Francisco was close for the most part. I mean, a couple INTs, which really shot him in the foot. But I think they'll be just fine. Division games, San Francisco's owned their number. But the biggest game Matthew Stafford won was in the playoffs, all right? So at the end of the day, Stafford's going to be all right. Kirk Cousins, I mean, this guy is just one of those guys. He's just junk stats. He's up here. Why? Because he does the same thing year in and year out. He puts up great numbers. Okay, I don't think he's a great QB, all right? And I think that's proved when he goes out there and against primetime games, he can't go out there and compete, all right? And I think that it speaks for itself. Again, 4 turnovers in the first game. It was the reason they lost the game. Buccaneers came out, started 2-0. He's just not a winner. I mean, he's just not a winner in my books, and there's nothing wrong with that. It is just who he is. And now there's trade rumors coming up because they started the season 0-2. So that's something you would not like to see. But yet again, that's just the type of player he is. He's not a winner, and that's just safe to put it. But he's definitely more consistent than dudes in the C and D tier. Baker Mayfield, 2-0. I know everyone's like, whoa, how is Baker up in this list? He's right next to Kirk Cousins and Geno and all these guys, and above Daniel Jones and Derek Carr. But listen, Baker Mayfield, I talked about it in the last video. I mean, he's just played phenomenal. You cannot hate on his game. You cannot hate on what he's doing, and I think he's just played phenomenal football. He's 2-0, and the reason he barely made this B-tier list is because I think through week 1 and 2, he's played better than everyone in that C-tier list. So I think he deserves a spot just to sit in the bottom of the B-tier. If we get 7-8 games of Baker Mayfield playing like this, he might start having to move up. I mean, you've seen him make the playoffs once. You've seen him win a playoff game. So we know he's done 1 big games before, all right. So I'm praying the best for Baker Mayfield, especially with Tampa Bay. You love to see it. Um, and just out of his performance, I think it's only right that he goes right there in that bottom B tier, the last B tier spot. I slid him in there, and I'm okay with my decision. I mean, Anthony Richardson. Well, I mean, why is he in the front of the C tier? Because even though, yes, he got injured the last play of the game, week 1. Yes, he got injured with concussion in week 2. But, I mean, this guy's just been an absolute highlight reel. I mean, he's a Cam Newton type quarterback. He's out here. He's got 3 rushing touchdowns on the year. All right. He's just got so much, like, he's out of all the rookie quarterbacks, he's definitely looked the best. He's been competitive in all his games. Stroud, I know he threw for nearly 400 yards last week. But Richardson got him a win. All right, they got one win. Minshew finished it off for him. But I mean, Anthony Richardson has just been a problem. When he played against Jacksonville, he just looked good for a rookie quarterback in his first start who didn't get a lot of college reps. I mean, it's just great to see. This dude just uses his athletic ability to the max, and that Indianapolis coaching staff is just really, using him in the right ways, and I love to see it. Um, Daniel Jones, next on the list. I mean, Daniel Jones, do I really have to go out here and talk about Daniel Jones? I mean, again, we've seen his week 1 blowout. He got blown out 40-0. I mean, there's no debate about that, okay? That Arizona comeback. I mean, coming back like that, doing something crazy, put up historic type numbers in that comeback. I mean, he just played nearly flawless, but yet again, it was against the Arizona Cardinals. And the only reason he is above Derek Carr and Jordan Love and Jimmy G is because he's won his team games. He won his team a game, all right? And he went out there and did himself. Yes, it was against the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, sure, right? Do I think this offensive line is a little bit of a problem? Yes. I mean, he's second most sacked in the NFL, which is, as playing as a quarterback, that's not something you want to see. Yes, some of them has to do with him trying to take off a little too early in the pocket, just collapsing. But, I mean, it is what it is. This whole Giants team has not looked great, but Daniel Jones made the playoffs last year, won a playoff game. I think he definitely deserves it over the next couple guys. And because then we go right into Derek Carr. I mean, Derek Carr, 19th in completion percentage, 8th in yards, 21st in QBR. I mean, his stats don't scream, this guy's amazing. 8th in yards, sure, that's a good thing, right? But, I mean, he didn't play good last week against Carolina, all right? That game was way too close for what it should have been. Yes, division rivalry game, so you know how it goes. But no way that game should have been that close. Derek Carr against Tennessee, again, Tannehill throws 3 INTs, and you only win by a point. You only win by a point. You know what I'm saying? I'm not impressed with Derek Carr this year. All right, and next goes on to Jordan Love. I mean, Jordan Love, 23rd in passing yards, 30 in completion percentage. He's not, his numbers don't scream, great, right? But he had a little bit of a rough go against Atlanta, who's 2-0, has been playing great defensively. But yet again, week 1, he went in there against Chicago and absolutely torched that defense. And again, I think he deserves to be above Tannehill and Jimmy G just for the reason that he went out there and had a flawless week 1, all right? I'm not saying week 2 was flawless, but none of these other quarterbacks played flawless. I mean, everybody in that D tier is 0-2 right now except for Deshaun. But Deshaun's in the bottom of every absolute category, so there's no reason for him to even be in this discussion, all right? Jimmy G, another guy right there, right? Him and Tannehill are basically in the same spot. I mean, they're too many turnovers, which caused their team to lose a game. Obviously, Jimmy G last week did not play well. Was holding on to the ball too long, and it just did not look pretty. But Tannehill, same thing. I mean, 3 INTs against New Orleans. Like I said, he was the reason they lost. Tennessee should be 2-0 right now, but it is what it is. Okay, that's why in the bottom of the C, close to that D tier. And here we go. Next, we get into Russell Wilson. Yes, he is 4th in passer rating, 11th in QBR, 10th in yards, and 12th in completion percentage. But what is his results? 0-2. And they have phenomenal first half. They're one of the best first half teams in football. And then the second half comes around, they forget that they are professional football players. Okay, someone like that, 0-2, does not deserve to go in there. C.J. Stroud, again, his numbers look a lot better than what I think he really is. Week 1 against Baltimore, he didn't play terrible, but he didn't play great. He played, mediocre. Didn't turn the ball over. Was completing passes for the most part. That Houston defense definitely stepped up and played well. And I think he fits in right there in that D tier. And yet again, he's not the worst QB on this list. There's QBs that didn't make this list. All right, so just Texans fans, let me catch a break here. All right. And here we go, Mac Jones. I mean, sixth in passing yards, 11 completion percentage. I mean, he's been throwing the ball a lot, but same-ish situation with Kirk Cousins, all right? And Mac Jones has been doing this for a couple years, but I mean, turnovers. It's not taking care of the ball. Not all of them are on Mac Jones, but turnovers are turnovers, and that's what's going to lose you games. And if you're yet again 0-2 in that D tier, I mean, it's a spot that they earned. Okay, Deshaun Watson. Like I said, I don't really have to discuss this one enough. I mean, 30 in QBR, 31st in 30th in QBR, 31st in passer rating, 3 turnovers on the year already, and he was the reason they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's definitely holding this team back, and I'm not the only one that thinks that. But with that being said, I'm hoping that some of these dudes who didn't make the list can make some plays, start winning some games, and prove that they deserve to be in this tier list. All right, but nobody's gonna get it. Someone's not gonna be able to make the list. I don't think there's a reason why 32 teams should be on a tier list. All right, because nothing can get worse than D. All right, so it is what it is. Let me know what y'all think of this tier list. I mean, personally, I think I rated it pretty evenly, and like I said, okay, there's going to be games going on week by week. This list will be updated based on wins, performances, consistency. You know what I'm saying? And I don't care if you go out there and beat a scrub team and you're 2-0. You got to perform, all right? And yet again, this is not based on talent. This is based on just overall efficiency, winning games, and who you're playing. You know, how you play in these games. You know what I'm saying?